Orlando, como é que você tá, cara?
Tudo bem.
Okay, we are live.
Cool. So we are at our session number 12, actually.
Oi.
Which is quite impressive, I must say. Our plans are to go all the way through the 15th session and then stop for a while to talk about what went on, where to could we go from here? Yes. Mike, do you have anything to say before I introduce our guests for today?
No, apart from just saying thank you guys. I mean, for me, it's been really, I've learned a lot, and it's been nice to kind of have something to do with people who are interesting. And I think it's been nice to have all these guests and kind of arrive at a format that seems to work through experimentation. So, I mean, and we've pretty consistently been having some like core group members and then some satellite members. But for me, it's just been really informative and something to look forward to every week, which is very, very much welcome these days. So thank you all.
Yeah, cool. So what I'll try to introduce Mariana's work and also I'll try to do it in the regular way I've been doing this kind of introductions, which is usually it kind of mixes personal impressions I have with things which I consider to be kind of more objective and bland. Then let me see. A couple of years ago, when I still had a Facebook personal account, an inbox message from an unknown person arrived. She asked me if I could share my opinions about a space I worked for a while in Brussels. She was going to work there too. I think this is the kind of thing that happens when you are part of a scene. You just, you are already connected with people, even though you don't know these people many times. But I mean, the connections are made, right? You are circulating at the same spots, venues, you are talking to the same people, you are many times you are playing with the same people, you just hear about them. And this is something I believe to be an interesting part of me working as a technician as well. I work as an audio technician for several projects, including Fosso, which is a place here in Rio, a place for people to play, to present their artistic works. And this is also a privileged entry point to scenes as well. Then this unknown person that sent me this inbox message, she returned to work with us at Fosso, and I discovered that her name is Mariana Carvalho, the one that's with us today. As usual, as I usually do, I did my research in order to prepare myself to work with Mariana. And then it was a huge, I must confess it, I had a huge impact in what I could already check from what was in the web, in the internet, on the documentations that I could find about her work. it's a fantastic body of work connecting different practices such as sound arts, improvisation. I was really impacted by an incredible performance of Schoenberg by her. I remember watching the video and saying, okay, this is fantastic. But I mean, obviously what impacted me more was the work she was already some developing for some years, and that she was going to present at FOSU, which is one of the works she intends to show us today. With the nylon lines, like it's a sort of a very particular piano preparation and expansion, and it's almost literal, the meaning of the word expansion here today, because it's like the piano expands throughout the space. I won't give so many details because we are going to check the material she prepared for us today. But I can certainly say that this was probably one of the most intense preparations for a performance at FOSU we ever had, requiring, for instance, a sort of building a false wall at one of our walls there at FOSU. And this false wooden wall was going to work as sort of an extra resonance board for the pianos we had there. And this resonance board would amplify the connections, and this is an important work, I think, the connections between the piano strings and the house itself through a web of nylon threads. Why do I want to emphasize the word connections? Because I think connections and relations are at the core of what Mariana's work is about. But as I was talking to her prior to the beginning of today's session, I really don't know her that well. This is just one of my impressions, right? Something that I would like even to ask her today. And to use Magnus' expression, Magno Kaliman, which probably, I don't know, maybe he arrives later today at today's session, but he is always there with us. Those strings, those nylon threads were not only the entry points to the piano, right? Ways to access the piano from outside, but also these nylon threads, they work in my imagination, they work as a way to visualize all these amazing connections that Mariana is doing through her work. I had the privilege to check today her undergrad closure monography, and at some point at her monography, there are two drawings which I believe to be hers. One of the piano with lots of lines going towards and connecting the piano to lots of other things. And then at the next page, you have sort of a diagram of words, of ideas, of concepts connected through a lot of lines. And this is kind of clarifying to me. This intense connection of different ideas that I see in her work. So I have the impression, as I said before, that those connections are at the heart of Mariana's artistic interests. She returned then to FOSU with another work of hers, I guess 1 year later or a couple of months later. The name of this work is Nylon Bites. It's another work she intends to present to us today. And in this work, this idea of connections through nylon strings goes kind of, you have like this very interesting consequence of this idea in which she is connecting not only like her or build a house wall to a piano or her to a piano through these nylon threads, but also people. And it's kind of amusing to see and to be a part of it because you are connected through your inner listening and through your mouth, like, which kind of works as sort of opens your body to work as a sort of a resonance board as well. It's a fantastic expansion of the concept that I could check in her piano preparations with the nylon strings, right? And then you have in this other work of hers, which I did not have the privilege to check in person, but only through the documentation that she presented me, which the name, if I'm not mistaken, is Mi Alimento de Voces, or Mi Alimento de Vocês. It's kind of a pun, an linguistic pun, mixing Spanish and Portuguese. This is how I interpreted it, actually. Like, I feed myself from you, or I feed myself from voices. It's kind of possible to read it both ways, depending on the language that you privilege. In this work, this distance that is there between the two people connected through the nylon threads, they are shortened so that there are no connection lines anymore, but only a sort of intimate resonance. I'm really curious about this work because this is new for me. I don't know this work from Mariana, but I'm really curious about it. And finally, to finish this introduction, when I went through the material that she sent me to illustrate today's seminar, I could recognize in some of the pictures that she sent me the main room of Brussels XII, the space in which I worked and that she asked me at her first message to me. I also could recognize in that same picture the red lamps that Manuel Pessoa de Lima, which is also a connection of Mike's, as I get Manu mentioned that to me. Those red lamps that Manu left at XII as a gift to them. Also, XII's keyboardless piano. And I can imagine that Mariana probably signed her name on this piano as others did. I can also imagine the incredible acoustics of that very same XII room, amplifying Mariana's sounds. What I want to say with this is that one of the things that impresses me most in Mariana's work, or what I know of it, is the kind of connections that she is able to do. Connections that include intimacy. And this is something I find really inspiring, actually. So looking at those pictures kind of included me somehow in my memories in the connections threads that she is kind of weaving. And I thank her for that. It was really great to see it, to recall it, and to feel kind of involved in a wider scope through your work. And let's have Mariana today as our guest. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you very much for inviting me and for this great presentation. And I don't know, it's good to hear from other people, know how they see your work. So thank you.
So Mariana asked us to. She will present her work. She will kind of lead. She has material to share with us, but if anyone has any questions at any point of her presentation, just raise your hand, and then let's try to have a conversation throughout the whole session, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so hi. Thank you, Paulo, and thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's see, I will try. I hope I can say everything I planned and I don't get confused in the middle of the conversation, but yeah, maybe like as Paulo mentioned, it would be nice to start talking about my background and because I'm now that you asked me to talk about something, I don't know, about my work, I started to look backwards and to kind of see like what is changing in my work since the beginning, because like as he mentioned, first you had the piano with some nylon threads expanding it, which I consider that was kind of my first approach to go out of the instrument. That was my, I don't know, instrument of my comfort zone of origin, what I was studying, the musical background, classical musical background. But then like since then I was going more, I don't know, out of that and to other places that I don't even know now. And maybe this last work he mentioned, which is the process I am more inside right now. Yeah, I think it would be nice to talk about, even because I want to understand better what is happening. Because I really think that sometimes we are lived, we don't live. I don't know if you get it, but I mean, sometimes I don't control exactly to where I go, and then I just go. I think connections are also made about that, because when you connect something, you don't know exactly what comes out from this junction. Yeah. So yeah. So I studied piano in the USP, the University of São Paulo. I'm from São Paulo, and I've finished. Yeah, I was there from 2013 until 2017 when I finished. And I didn't do any composition. I was doing the bachelor's, instrument bachelor's, which is quite rigid. And maybe you know about how the musical education systems are, that you really need to be like to play. Schoenberg was an exception because I had to play, I mean, and he's male, but I had to play a lot of, I don't know, classical romantic composers, male composers. And it was quite hard, I have to say, although I like, and piano is something I really love, and yeah. It was quite hard for me. And then I think I was kind of exploring the places I could there, like where I could feel free to play whatever else, to, I don't know, to feel connected with other people. So looking backwards, I know that I was and I am part of a lot of different collectives, groups there. And I also see how the individual work is not individual in the end, because everybody is inspiring you, and you are, I don't know, sometimes I grab something from someone and then you do this network, and then when you see your work is not yours. But yeah, so then I could mention Camerata Profana and Coro Profana, which were two groups that I was participating in my while at university. One was an experimental vocal lab, Coro Profana, and the other one was a musical contemporary music ensemble there at the university. the students were organizing themselves to play our pieces and to improvise as well. Both groups doesn't exist anymore, but they were very important for me because they were totally horizontal, and we were constantly sharing dynamics and composing for ourselves and making projects. So I think my school comes from there, and also from Orquestra Errante. That is maybe you may know. It's a free improvisation group that coordinated by Rogério Costa at the University of São Paulo. So it's an official group, although it is an independent, like extracurricular from the curriculum. Is not obligatory. So people that are also out of the university can participate in. And it's a group. Extension yeah, it's an extension. Yeah, but you don't need to be a student to participate. You can just go if you want. I mean, it's connected to the NuSom, that is the research center on sonology of the University of São Paulo, which I'm also part in. So it's like a part of NuSom. And there I discovered the free improvisation, which was for me like a place to really play what I wanted and to discover like this big world of prepared piano, for example, the extended techniques and so on. Maybe it would be nice to mention that when I entered, I was the only woman there, and then things are changing, and then nowadays we have other women at the group, and I'm there for now 7 years. Yeah. So yeah, so Camerata Profana, Coro Profana, Orquestra Errante. I had some things I did some stuff with people from the theater and other departments close to the music department as well. And then I entered to Sonora, Músicas e Feminismos, which is a network, a feminist network, based also in the University of São Paulo, which is part from this research center, the NuSom, on sonology there. But it's also like everybody can jump in and is not officially inside the program, or yeah. And then so Sonora is the group that I'm still part in, and we do a lot of stuff. Maybe if you want, then you can check. We've been doing some lives in this period, and you can check our activities if you're interested. We have everything in our website, which I will put here in the chat.
I guess I saw you with Ana Maria Romano a couple of weeks ago, maybe?
Yes, but this was through Sonora. I was kind of representing Sonora, but it was a meeting, like a live from people, Latin America women. Yeah, different collectives and groups, like by kind of exchanging experiences about feminist organization in Latin America, in music, and experimental music. Yeah. Yeah, so these groups were very important. And then when I finished the graduation, I did this work that Paulo mentioned. That was actually like an expansion of my scientific initiation, like this research. I don't know how would be the translation in English. Sorry about the English errors. But I was researching free improvisation and eutony, which is a somatic body practice of awareness of the body. And then I had this work, and then I used this in my final monography, which was a diary actually. And the final monography was exactly a big connection of everything from these groups, from the prepared piano, free improvisation, contemporary repertoire of women. I don't know, a lot of stuff that is difficult actually to mention, but I can say that it makes sense together. Although it's a lot of stuff, like the work was really to put everything together and mix, inscribed in my experience. So maybe I could say that in this case, I was really interested in the diary as a way of having other type of knowledge that is not the same, this knowledge, male, white, rigid, and a knowledge that is academic but unquestionable, that sometimes science is.
I just shared with everyone, so just to let everyone know, I just shared her final monography in our chat box if you're interested to go into it. I checked before, and in our session, it's quite amazing. You should just go there and check it.
Thank you. And if you want the PDF, I can send you as well. This website is the work is at a friend's website, because she did a design of the monography, the diary. So if you want the PDF to really read, just tell me, and then I send you by email afterwards. But it was like a diary of study. So sometimes I was playing the piano, and then I had something that I realized when I was studying some piece in particular, and I just wrote something. Or I could be reading any text that was important for me in this moment, or I had a rehearsal with the Orquestra Errante, and everything is kind of there. So I did this diary, and then in the end, each day you have these keywords. So today I talked about feminism free improvisation. So you have the keywords in the day 1. The day 2, you have other keywords. I don't know, Valéria Bonafé, which was one of the composers I played, and eutony, or body awareness. And then in the end, you have the chapters are organized more or less by the keywords. So you can read these chapters, or you can read for any topic you want. You just see, like, in the end, there is a list of all the keywords. So you look for the keyword you want, and then you go there, which is not a linear way of producing academic writing at all, because you have 2 versions you can read differently. And I knew that, and even this was my my objective, like my purpose, because I really wanted to. I wasn't feeling comfortable with all the rigid rules, like I don't know, finishing a graduation and having to analyze Beethoven sonata and playing it at the concert. So I was not happy about that, and I invented something else. Yeah.
Sorry, but how was the reaction of the department? Was it okay? Was it?
I was really, I think I was very lucky because of being part of NuSom, Orquestra Errante and Sonora. So you note that they are not officially, like, they are not obligatory subjects you need to study there. So I had this more outsider groups there that could. So I was approved and everything went well, but the next day there was a teacher that wanted to cancel, for example, my presentation because, I don't know, because I didn't play, because I did an installation, I played free improvisation, I played women pieces, I don't know, because it wasn't ABNT, the rules, the format of you need to write. Yeah, but it was fine. I mean, I had a good supervisor, which was Rogério Costa. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but also because some people came before me and did similar stuff. Like Valeria Bonafé, for example, her PhD was about her own work of composition, which was I think it was the first one there at USP. I mean, everything was very conservative before, and I know that some people were starting to open the field a little, and then maybe, yeah, and then I could do this as well. I mean, it didn't came out of nowhere, of course. Yeah. So, yeah, and then in this work, I did this performance installation that Paulo mentioned. That I did at FOSO as well. So I think I can show you. Let's see if I can share my screen correctly. Yeah. Which I did actually in my last graduation year at NuSom. USP, they had a series of concerts, and then I had this idea and I did. It is called like nylon, studying nylon, lines of flight. Wait. So you have the piano, and then you have a lot of different nylon threads that go from the piano to the walls or whatever, different places that I attach them. So the idea is that it's an expansion of the instrument, and then I attach nylon threads in the strings, piano strings, and then I have the resonance of the instrument and the resonance of the space, and I don't play the piano, I play the strings with some rosing, like violin or double bass rosing. So this is the installation. This was at Buenos Aires, at the Center of Sound Art there. But then it's not just an installation. Actually, it's like I consider it a performance installation, because I always play, and I think the way I play is important as well, because I am researching this. How can I move in this expanded instrument or in this space, or how can my body be part of that? Yeah, this is at QO2. The room of QO2, there is less threads here, but the piano is lie down. So I had the opportunity of doing that several times during this, 3 years, and each time is different depending on the space. This is the first time I did, and it was a grand piano at the studio of the University of São Paulo. Sometimes you can see the nylons quite well because of the pictures. They are transparent, sorry. But this was the first time, and I was really experimenting. I didn't know anything. And the performance lasted like 69 minutes, I guess. Like I was playing for more than 1 hour. I was just an installation, and people could see. And yeah, they passed, and yeah, and stay how much they wanted. But other times I did a performance like 15 minutes or half an hour. So since then I was doing that in different ways, in different places. Yeah. This, for example, it was at MUM, Museum of Modern Art of Rio de Janeiro. It was this year, and we had 3 pianos, and it's an open space. A very big space, and this one was also in Rio at FOSO. This day that Paulo mentioned, actually, like we had 2 pianos, and then you can see here, but there was a wood wall which I was attaching the nylons. Yeah, this is installation in progress at MUM. With all the stuff here, but you can see it was night, and we had to put these wooden parts in the columns because I couldn't drill the walls there. and some pictures of the performance. So I was always experimenting with different ways to play with my body, and also with my clothes sometimes, like because when you put a lot of rosin and you do this friction with your hands, and you have a lot of rosin in your hands, or depending on the clothes you wear, you produce sound. Yeah, so I will play, then I will play for you. Let's see if I can put the YouTube link. So then you can see how it sounds. So this video, it was the first time I did. I will put different fragments. Wait.
Cool.
Yeah. Then maybe it's short, but I know that then you can watch afterwards if you want. So this piano, this first time, this piano was very, it was a grand piano, and the studio had a really good acoustic for that. So, but it sounds always different. This other video, for example, in Argentina, this video in Buenos Aires, for example, we put this wall, this wooden strip at the walls, and then I put some piezo, like contact microphones, in these wooden walls, and then you can hear much more the wood sound, because I can isolate if I want more piano sound and the resonance, the reverberation, or if I want more wooden and without reverb. So. and so on.
Mariana, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Because these are different every time, and you're always in a specific place, but then you leave, so you have the installation, and then you call it a performance installation, which is a title I quite am fond of. How do you arrive at the performance? Do you have to like practice in the space, you know, for some time before you do a public presentation, or do you have kind of your bag of tricks that does somehow extend to the different situations?
Well, actually, I would like to have the opportunity to rehearse, but it didn't happen. The only time I could rehearse and practice before presenting was when I was in a residency, this QO2 residency, because then I had the piano and the space. Because normally it's difficult that you find a place that you can drill the walls to put the the screws that I used to attach the nylon, and that you have a piano, because sometimes like you can go to these underground places that you can drill places and you don't have a piano. Like Fosso is an exception. In Rio, I would say. So I think I practice doing each, I don't know, 6 months or 3 months. It depends on the opportunities I have to play. So the first time it was completely blind performance. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to set the installation as well. It was the first time. And then I spent like, I don't know, 8 or 12 hours setting and putting the threads, because I didn't have any experience. And then I had to play it. So it was like, okay, let's do it. I didn't know anything. Yeah, so, but then the last ones, I see that each time I have more experience, and I started to use more the body as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I will show the last one of this performance. There is the video at Fosso, which was like 1 year after doing that, and then I was a bit more comfortable and using more my body as well. And I also put a preparation in the piano. This is like a hard drive, computer hard drive. Yes, so I think this is it about this work. Maybe in some parts of the videos I use my clothes to play, but I mean, it's okay. And then I yes.
can I share the links you just played with everyone in the chat box? Because Martin, for instance, just asked if we were just playing from your SoundCloud account. May I share your YouTube links?
Yes, of course.
Cool. I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so this, then I was experimenting in different places, and in some cases I had to adapt because I didn't have pianos. So I think that like the next step was to take out the piano or doing that in a distance. So I put in the presentation, in the pictures, what I called variations now, just to organize. Because for me, it's like, I don't consider it a closed work. It's more like a process of investigation, and I do it when I can in different places, in different forms. Can you see the screen? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So then this was also in Argentina, but I had the opportunity of doing that in a place called Investigaciones del Futuro, with 2 pianos and some friends of mine. But then I wouldn't be in Buenos Aires anymore, and we decided to do it in distance. So Javier Busto, which is one of these friends, built these systems, this motor that had quite it was a frequency analyzer, and then I was doing a solo, a prepared piano solo, improvisation solo in Brazil, and depending on the sound, it made some of the motors function there. So I was like playing here in Brazil. This was 2018, so before the pandemic. Now is the only alternative we have to play. But then you see some nylon attached to the windows, and we had the piano harp here, and then they were putting different motors that were sounding the installation. So I was sounding the installation from São Paulo, basically. Yeah, there is also a video of this presentation I can send you afterwards. I didn't put in the list. And this was a collaboration with Celu Herraiz in Spain, but without pianos. So I just put nylon in the walls with contact microphones, and he was processing the sound electronically. So then there was no reverb, like this piano sound, just the nylon sound, which is quite, I don't know, something kind of simple. And then he was processing and putting some live effects. This is another one. And I did a variation doing when I didn't have a piano twice, building a ceiling harp with wire. So I did this harp with wire. This is in a residency I did in Spain that is called Centro Negra, AADK Spain. And I did I had the ceiling had these woods, these columns, and the sound was amazing. So I just put the wire, and it sounded like an harp. So I attached the nylon to this wire, and the nylon was falling down from the ceiling. And then I was playing, you can see like the nylon. Yeah, I don't have very good pictures of this performance.
No, I see. Maybe you just wrapped some nylon threads in the nylon structure that you built at the ceiling.
Yeah.
Just as you wrap some nylon threads at the piano strings.
Yes, it's the same. But then instead of having a piano harp, I had an harp that I built, a wire harp. Yeah, in the ceiling, and then as the ceiling is very high, I needed something to play, no? So the nylon was falling down, and then I was playing the nylon that was falling. Yeah, which I did as well with Natalia Francischini, Nanachi, in São Paulo, she's a guitarist, improviser, and visual artist. And then we did kind of a complex installation. You have also here, this is a wire harp as well, kind of in the ceiling with wood, but you can see the wire. But imagine that, yeah, you have some wire here and the nylon is falling. And she did some visual paintings with glue and yeah, other stuff. So we played together. So we were connecting the sitting harp to her guitar. This was last year, yeah, last year in São Paulo. So these are the variations.
Cool.
That may happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Paolo was also mentioning that you were connecting people with the strings.
Yeah, so this was the next step. As I didn't have piano, because when you are a pianist and you are traveling, you can't carry the piano. And for me, it was difficult to depend on that all the time. And yeah, so I consider that maybe this work was like the bridge for me to access other types of work. Mm-hmm. So the next one is nylon bites. So instead of having the piano, I was biting nylon with people and with things. Instead of connecting the piano to the space, I was connecting people or connecting myself to different material. Well, I will share again some pictures.
I would love to see it, yeah.
Yeah. So then it was an interactive performance. So you see here 2 chairs. I sit in one of them, and then I bite nylon with the other person. But both us are connected to this sound mixer because I found out that you can kind of record more or less, like record or amplify your inner listening with binaural microphones turned to the inside of the ear. So I turned them to the inside of the ear, and I use these anti-noise headphones to kind of block the outer sound. And then you play, because when you play with someone else and you both bite, there is this bone conduction sound happening. So then you hear the friction sound or the nylon sound inside your head, but people that are not biting don't hear it. So this was kind of what I did with some help of Cellular Rice to connect the binaural microphones to amplify the sound, this cranial sound, the inner sound. And then in this performance, a person can play with me and another person can listen how these 2 heads sound and kind of mix the 2 heads. Like here you have like body 1, body 2, and you can just play with the pan, left, right, and with the volume. To maybe you just want to listen to one's head and to the other one, and so that's it. But it was also an installation, a video installation. So it was more. Again, it was a process of investigation. So there is one format that is this interactive performance and some videos that I did when I was in this residency in Spain. And then I continued in São Paulo. So in total, now, besides the performance, there are 4 videos, which I consider part of 2 series of videos. One that I bite nylon with people, and another one that I bite a nylon with things in different places. So this is the performance. One person is listening, I am playing here, and then you have 2 videos. In this time I had just 2 videos projected. This was in Spain, the first time I presented a work. And this was in at USP as well, at Sons de Silício exhibition. It was an exhibition from the research center on sonology. They organized, and then you can see that one video here, and I am playing with Valeria Bonafé, and we are using the binaural microphones here, and her child Katarina. And here I'm also playing. You can see the nylon very well, but it's here. Yeah, the same. And well, and then these are video captures of the videos installation. This first one is playing with people. So I decided to do a video because then you have my inner point of listening, and also my point of view, like as you were in my position of listening and viewing. So this is because I wanted to test these limits of perception, or like to provoke different ways of listening. Like how can you, I don't know, be in other people's listening? No, this was more or less the purpose. And then I play with different people. It's an installation, and you just put the headphones and you listen what I was recording from my perspective. That's why I had the GoPro, a camera in my head, like, yeah. And the other series I play I play with things in places. So, but then there is this shift between the inner and the outer perception. So sometimes you see I have this GoPro with me, and sometimes you see the GoPro view with the inner listening, and sometimes there is a camera and an external recorder recording the soundscape. I will put some fragments. This is in Blanca as well, in Spain. These two videos with people in Blanca, and then a video in Blanca, and then I did with people in São Paulo, colleagues from NuSom, Sonora, or Orquestra Errante, and in places of São Paulo. And this was the last video in São Paulo, which I did in collaboration with Kina Filmes. That is people that help me with video, like they have a collective, and yeah.
Those were the ones you presented at FOSU as well, right?
Yes, I presented this, the last video, the São Paulo videos, and I did a performance.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can see that I attached to this telephone, and people were passing and looking, and I was recording. Yeah. Or here that I am in an abandoned factory in the periphery of São Paulo, which had the biggest workers' strike in Brazil during the dictatorship. I don't know if you know this place. It is Fábrica de Cimento de Perus. It's a cement concrete factory. And it's abandoned, and I don't know, I went there because I thought it was interesting to have different places that were not just the center of the city to represent what is this city. So I chose different spots that I could. Yeah. I will put a fragment for you to listen. Then Paulo can send the link, and then the ones that want to listen, to watch afterwards, you can. I will put just two videos. One, if you have headphones, it will be nice because the sound is binaural. Then you have the binaural effect.
Except that it might be mono through Jitsi.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, then you tell me.
About the YouTube.
Yeah, but I think that when you share
yeah. It's there. Okay, cool.
Paulo, I didn't hear you.
I think when you share a YouTube video, it goes stereo. I think, but let's give it a try. Yeah.
Okay. So this video is a very large video because it was an installation. So it has 40 minutes. I'm just doing the same action that is playing with different people. And this is she's Marina Mapurunga, one of the person that I was playing with. And each person is different playing. So this is the video with people. And the other one is playing with things in places. And then I will show you also the São Paulo video that I did with Kina Filmes. Then you have different places, and I'm just experimenting, attaching nylon to different material. Like, I don't know, civil constructions. I don't know if the video is, maybe it's heavy.
Yeah.
So this is it. Yes, this was nylon bites. And then, which was the second work I wanted to talk about. And then we go to the last one.
Mari?
Which, yes.
How was it for you, the shift from the piano to people, and then to objects, and then to the city. How can you recall it a bit? How did you? Why did you expand the scope of your performances?
I think I did. I knew that I was going to a residency for 2 months without piano, and I know that like I kind of forced myself to invent something else. Like I had this clear from the beginning, but of course I didn't know what I was going to do. And then this was this residency in Spain, and I had 2 months. In the first month, I did this ceiling art that you've seen before, because it was like doing something that I was used to, but just adapting that. But then like the night I was preparing, when I was putting the rosing in all the nylon threads before playing, I had the idea of nylon bites. So I think it was because I was in this village out in the middle of nowhere, with a lot of silence, and then I kind of forced myself to go to another direction. I think I wanted to do something less musical and more going to the sound art or performance direction. I don't know if I answered.
Yeah, I can almost imagine like by accident you kind of biting the nylon string. Because you were alone, and then you had to put
exactly. This was what happened, because I was doing a lot of. I always used nylon when playing like improvisation at the prepared piano, and then I didn't have 3 hands to tense and to pass rosin, and I was biting. And then I remember that first I thought that everybody could listen what I was listening, because then you hear the friction super loud inside. And then I realized that people weren't. Like, if you don't bite, you don't listen. And then I realized, okay, this is the bone conduction. And I was doing some experiments with the bones perception because of this, the eutony I mentioned before, the somatic practice that you work with the awareness of the body and the bones. Yeah, so it happened.
And then you probably just listen to this and just shared the
yes.
But then how you jumped from that to the binaural setup with the noise cancellation headphones? This seems to be.
I was there in the residency, and I had the image of nylon bites in my head, but I didn't know how to record this sound. I was like, okay, well, how can I record this? And then Sur Aural, which was the curator of the sound part of this residency, we just met and tried to find a way. So I tried with some contact microphones, which electrified my teeth a little bit in the beginning. And but then he had these binaural microphones.
These are if I'm not mistaken, they are the OKM.
Yeah, the Soundman.
Yeah.
What happens is that the majority of binaural microphones, they have the reproduction function. Yeah. So you can't kind of turn them inside. Yeah. Because they are not shaped for that. And then Celu had exactly this OKM too, and then I bought some for me.
Yeah, and they are perfect, right? Because you can even confuse which side you should put in your ears, right?
Yeah, I have them here. Yeah,
be turned, right? Yeah.
Yes, like they are this. So the colored part is the part that records. And then instead of putting, normally you put like, maybe, I don't know if it's mirrored, but normally you put the colored part, the recording out, pointed to the outer sounds. But then I just do this.
Yeah.
And it works. I mean, it's not perfect. I know I don't aim to reproduce the sound exactly as it was myself. I mean, the purpose is like just to imagine that you can listen differently. I know it's limited as well.
It's actually, for me, it's actually a fantastic part of your work, because you are using binaural microphones, which are usually used to reproduce a spatial reality, so to say. But what you do is like turn them inside out and use these noise cancellation headphones just to prevent any exterior sound to come in. Yeah.
But the anti-noise stuff came after. Like if you see in the videos, I don't wear any anti-noise stuff. That's why you can also hear to the soundscape well, because binaural microphones are super sensitive. So you hear everything. Actually, you have to put the volume, the rack level really low. They capture everything. But then that's why I realized, okay, I will need something to protect if I really want more the inner sound than the outer sound. Then I started to use, and the next work is it's about that. I think I have some kind of variations after. Yeah, I will share my screen again. Then I think the binaural microphones turned to be my second instrument, let's say like that. Like I was, when I didn't have piano, or even when I had, I was biting stuff up, like biting grass or biting glass, food, and doing some experiments with my own voice to see if I can record the voice as I listen, and like this difference between when people record your voice and you listen to the first time and you don't recognize it. Yeah. So I put these others here because then this is like some experiments. This is the ventilarpa. It's an instrument I built to play free improvisation when I don't have a piano, which I've been using for some years. I built with a friend, Max Schenkman. And I had these anti-noise headphones and the binaural microphones here, and I was playing that while biting the strings or biting the wooden part, because normally it doesn't have any resonant part, so I have to play ventilarpa with contact microphones. Then I substituted the contact microphones by my biting the instrument. I don't know. Then you have the bone conduction, and then the sound comes filtered by my body, my flesh, and my cranial cavity. Yeah. So this was one example, and the other one was the.
It's like you become a resonance board.
Yeah, this is the purpose, like, because perception is always mediated. So I wanted to test the limits between one body, inner and outer, and my body and other bodies, and yeah. So this is the same. Like here, I am biting the piano and touching the piano with these anti-noise headphones, and yeah, doing some corporal experimentation in the piano. But then this was at QO2 last year, and it was a performance in collaboration with Catarina Clement. She was helping me with the sound, because one big problem of that is that when you play live with binaural microphones and you put them on the speakers, you have a lot of feedback because they are super sensitive. So before I didn't have the problem because I always had headphones. But if you want to put a speaker, you need to be in a separate place, or you need someone controlling the volume. And of course, I don't hear how it sounds when I am performing, because I hear what happens inside of my head. I have like a anti-noise headphone. But then that's why Catarina was helping me. So even in one part, we were playing with feedback, and she was controlling it to have a good, acceptable volume, like not very horrible feedback. killing you. Yeah. So these are some, and then it arrives to the last work, which is the process I think I am still in, although we have the pandemic situation now, which you
are not a COVID approved performance.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
It's not a COVID pandemic approved performance, social distance approved performance.
No, not at all. Maybe nylon bite is still, because you can have, I don't know, 3 meters nylon and then you can still play depending on the situation. But this is definitely not, because then I took out the nylon. And then the idea is that people sing inside my head. I was intrigued by this idea that a body can be inhabited by different voices, not just being the filter of that, but like that you can have a lot of different stuff, input that comes all the time to you, into you. And then, yeah, the idea was that people could sing inside of me. And then I had, this is a very bad picture, I'm sorry about that, but I don't have this performance well documented. It was like I had the opportunity of doing, I had the idea before, and then we organized everything in, I don't know, 3 days in Spain last year in October. And then it was the only time. I just have a little bit of fragments of the recordings, and I did a small piece with that I will show you, but I don't have videos. I have nothing, and I don't think I can do it again for a quite long time from now.
No, you just have to have a group that self isolates for 14 days and then do
yeah,
it.
then it's perfect. Then it's perfect.
I like that idea that you have to really trust the people to do it. It kind of gains a whole new gravity towards it.
Yeah, and actually this is good, because then I was kind of testing these limits. But in this case, I think like 40 people sang inside my mouth. And then I was sick for 2 weeks. And so maybe like I had a virus, I don't know. Well,
maybe you need to be part of the process even without COVID. Is just like, to do this, you must spend 14 days with the same people and no one else.
Yes, then I think you don't have problems, because also it's like, if you think about listening, it's like the sound is always going inside us, but sometimes you don't want sound to be inside you because it can be violent. So I think I was kind of testing the limits as well, because it can be wonderful to have your body filled with other people's voices, but it can be too much as well, no?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really penetrating. I mean, it sounds intense.
Yeah, actually, it is about that, because I was reading some texts of Brandon Labelle. He has one book that is Acoustic Territories, Sound Culture and Everyday Life, and he says that sound is promiscuous because it penetrates you and it invades you without control, like totally uncontrolled, because you can't you can't control and predict to where it goes. And so I was really intrigued by this question of promiscuity, no?
It can also be really transgressive. I mean, this is with a friend of mine. His name's Manfred Werder, and he does this really quiet, very sparse performances sometimes. And there's this kind of ongoing debate about the transgressiveness of performances on both ends of the noise spectrum, like one brutally loud noise that can actually damage your hearing, as opposed to really, really sparse music that kind of makes you feel imprisoned because you can't, move without your cranial sounds being heard, for example. So there's the two ends of the spectrum, and I think both can be interpreted as being extremely transgressive.
Yeah,
it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, totally. And also, like, I was then I was outside, so I was out of Brazil, and I was also thinking a lot about the colonization, no? And then I came up with this quote of the cannibalistic, I think the translation is cannibalistic manifesto, which would be anthropophagic manifesto from Oswald de Andrade. That in Brazil is a very known thing, and literature and all the critique against and all the anthropological thought about the anthropophagy and so on. But then there was this phrase that says, we can only attend to the oracular world. So there was this word that is oracular, and it doesn't exist. And I was looking for the meaning, and some people say it is an error. Other people say that it was a mix of auricular, like aural world, and oracle world. So I decided, so this was like what really inspired me to do this title, that I feed myself from other people as well, because I was out of Brazil, and then you are in different places, and I was like, okay, I had to feed myself from something, not just being inhabited, but also like processing and filtering, because with my listening, I process the sound. It's not the same sound. It's not just like the listening is not passive. And then you arrive to this idea that maybe penetration is not about penetration. Then I was reading some texts like Towards a Vaginal Listening is a text from Ana Raimundo and Edita Yarjau. And they quote Pauline Oliveiros, and she says that if sound was penetrative, the ears would have banana shapes. So then, like, what they say is that actually the focus is not in the penetration itself, but more in the sound as a penetration from sound itself. I don't know how to explain it well. But then it's like thinking that listening is not passive. That's why this performance has this title. Of course, everything I was reading, I was reading afterwards, because I've just finished an article about this work. And then these weeks I was really immersed in all the things I could hear about, and all the critiques about the anthropophagy that we can do in terms of racism and whiteness. But then this was the phrase. I had this thing. Yes?
Is your article already published? Is it online?
No, I've sent it last week. And I hope it is in a congress in August, but soon it will be published, and then I can send you things about that. Okay. I can tell you a little bit about. But then so the performance was, I was in a place that is called Espacio Incognita in Spain, in the door, in the entrance, and I was with the binaurals and the anti-noise stuff, waiting for people to sing inside of my mouth. And then they had this text that says, enter, sing inside my mouth. Listen to your sound processed by my body. Your voice, your noises, and your silence, I eat them. I filter them with my flesh, my bones, and in my intimacy. I make audible everything I devour and digest in the oracular world. I am both aural and oracle, cumulum of your voices. I feed myself from voices, and I feed myself from you, between the English and Spanish. So I was there, and people could sing inside my mouth if they want. And inside of the space, you had all the voices that sounded inside of me in loop, playing together in the speakers. So it was quite kind of a choir of everything that sounded inside this body. And these are the 3 pictures I have. I don't have anything else of documentation. Yeah, I have. Then I have.
They really touch you when they sing into you. It's not
some
like
of them.
Yeah.
some of them, some didn't want, of course, it depended on who was doing that, but technically, if you really put your sound inside without the air escaping out from the mouth, you have a better recording of the sound. Because otherwise the sound goes out and then the binaural doesn't capture well. So actually, like for me, I had to breathe the other voice for it to sound better, even like as I was smoking other voice, like tragar. How do you say tragar? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like to breathe in the voice.
That's super intense.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still love this idea of having to really trust someone to do it. For some reason.
Yeah, and this one is new for me. So all the voices that you were recording, they were in a way looped.
Yes.
Then superimposed one over the next one, and then the next one.
Yes, Celo Rice, the same guy that helped me with the binaural. I've met him again, like the last year, and he was at the computer looping and putting everything to sound. Somebody wants to speak. Orlando. Yeah.
Hello. I saw your performance at Fosso. I was there that day. I really enjoyed it. It was really intense. I wanted to ask you about the recording of this that you were just mentioning, the one people, resonate their sounds in your mouth. The recording on SoundCloud, is it like one individual person, or is it this collage of all the looped?
Yeah, so what happens was that I didn't have any recording of the performance, like I didn't record the sound. And then Celu found the fragments of the loops of the performance in like his Ableton Live project, something lost. Like he found it, I don't know, 3 months ago. Yeah. And then I did this like reconstruction of what it sounded with these fragments, because then I didn't have like all the voices. I have really
Did we all fall, or was it just me?
I think we all got booted.
It wasn't my fault.
It was a mind. It was such a good question. It blew up.
The internet wasn't ready for it.
I see if we're still connected, actually. But the problem
I had to like reinitiate it to get connected.
I didn't actually. I stayed on because I was concerned if I had to if I reinitiated, I would lose the video feed.
Yeah, this Jitsi, it's consuming like 90% of my CPU for some reason. My whole computer is lagging. It must be some bug or something, because it never happened before.
It looks like the stream has continued. The problem is Maria. And here she is. Okay.
Yeah. So we all fell.
okay. I was worried. Yes, I was talking about the SoundCloud track, no? So I did this reconstruction with the fragments I found, which were like actually the real how it sounded, but not in the space. So we can listen to that if you want.
Yeah, I was listening to it earlier, like before because I only knew your piano performance at Fawcett was the only thing. And I was kind of looking up what they posted on the Facebook group, and then that came up and I got curious.
The podcast or
were
the
you not
performance?
There?
Sorry.
No, please continue.
I didn't understand your question.
If you listen to the SoundCloud track or the podcast, because there is a podcast about this work as well that I put on the links.
No, the soundtrack cloud.
Ah, okay.
I listened to that. I didn't listen to the podcast, just the soundtrack cloud.
Okay.
The SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Track.
Okay, we will listen. And if you want to listen conversation about this work, there is this podcast of Anna Raimondo. She's an Italian artist that lives in Brussels. And she has a series of podcasts named New Genders of Listening. And then there's one with me that is about listening to the promiscuity. And then I talk about nylon bites, and I also talk about this work mostly. But then Michael, can you put the audio? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tú tienes que cantar dentro de mí.
Yes, that's it. It has just 1 minute. I had very small fragments, but then imagine that you had like these voices looped.
And that's coming out live? Is that coming out live through speakers or no? That's just for the recording.
This is just the recording that was in Ableton. Like he exported the tracks in Ableton in the project he was using to put live. But then, so here you don't hear the room sound, for example. It's just the recording. So you really hear the way it captured.
But the people in the room, do they have any opportunity to not hear anything but to not hear anything electronically? That is, to only hear actually the muffled sound in the space? Because
but
they're saying...
there is no electronic effect.
Yeah, well, it's amplified. It's amplified.
Yeah, the only one. Yeah.
And it's the sound from the binaural headphones, and not just the sounds. Wait, what is that sound? Is this me still playing something? Sorry. Can people hear me now? I can't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry. That was like really loud and then it went silent. I guess I'd be curious to also just hear what it sounds like being an observer. No electronics, just hearing someone yell into your mouth. Like a room recording.
A room recording.
Or being in the audience without any amplification.
Yeah, but this is what happened there, no?
No,
or not.
I'm
sorry.
Confused. Yeah, because was anything being amplified in the room? No.
No.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
The only microphone we used was the binaural microphones.
I understand.
So this piece, is exactly what was captured. there is no room there. It's just this room.
But the people in the room only hear the room. That's.
Yes, because then like the microphones were plugged into the computer in Ableton, and then the computer had an output to the speakers in the place.
So there was something coming out of the speakers.
Yes.
Now I'm really confused.
So,
yes.
In another room, right? You were in separate room.
I was in the entrance. So
you were in the entrance.
Yeah, entering, you could sing, and then when you entered, you could hear all the voices together with yours, suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, also because I couldn't be at the same place because of the feedback.
Yeah. Let me just plug here at the chat box some of what Mari has just mentioned. This is, I guess, the link to Ana Raimondo's podcast with Mariana. And if I'm not mistaken, I have a link here to the text that Mari mentioned as well. Did they remove the let me just try, because I think it was published at the Middle Matter, which is a publication from
exactly.
Kyoto, the Ana Raimondo's text, right? And I think it was available for free.
Yes.
I even sent it to Luca at some point.
Yeah.
It's here. I'll plug it at the chat box. Sorry for interrupting, but I think it's cool too.
Yeah, I really recommend this text of Ana.
There it is.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a comment, which is maybe that you'll have some thoughts on it. It's more of a comment than a question. I apologize for doing that. But one thing that I found really compelling to see the evolution of these works was it starting from this idea of extending outwards and using this traditional instrument, that then also brings in the baggage of the history of that instrument. And then at some point, really, instead of looking, towards a future instrument, when you started just doing the experimentation with the nylon yourself, just hooking it up to different objects, I thought that we had one of our guests earlier was a friend of mine. Her name's Laura Steenberg, and she kind of has these pieces that are like imaginations of what proto-musicians might be doing, like playing with strings or with tubes and things like that. So I found it really compelling to see then, almost looking backwards, of this kind of proto-musician-like attitude towards experimentation of like, okay, well, let's just go back to the primordial elements being just the string and the resonator, which in this case is your head. I thought that was, so amazing. And then to step back to when you see those pictures of someone singing into the mouth, then I would say my reflection of that was, on first thought, was really coming back towards the body, again to the future and then back to the past, back to the kiss, these like really, fundamental, body actions that are very inspiring, I thought that was kind of amazing to see it. Yeah, maybe Genesis is not the right word, but this, in a way, coming to the essentials, and when you got rid of the piano, and so I really found that quite interesting, and maybe that there was something to that about this journey through the body back to the past, or maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
No, totally. Thank you for this comment. Because I think in the end is about relation. No, it's like because if you analyze like the nylon bites, the sound is, of course, I can play it in different ways, but it's like something not virtuos at all in the very simple sound. I mean, because for me it's more like the sound as as a way to approach relation, but it's not about sound. I don't know. It's more about the sound, the body, and the limits of the body, or how, I don't know. Is it really, is there any separation between inner and outer, or between yourself and myself, or what makes me different from other people? Is my listening different from others? No, it's like thinking that there is other perceptions, there is difference, there is otherness. I don't know. This is what comes to me when I think about that. Maybe it's a genesis, I don't know, because it is not, or another type of machine, because the body as a machine, there is not this very complex, extended, prepared instrument. I don't know.
Yeah, like you are equalizing things as well. You perform nylon bites with people, but also with cities, but also with objects. You are creating this network of connections, and at the end of the day, those connections are not outside, but you are officially processing them inside of you. This is like, and I as I talked to you prior to our public conversation, so to speak, I was reading your monography, and there I just felt that because you choose a certain register of writing, it's like a diary, right? But you are, like, from a very personal and intimate perspective, you are connecting like lots of different things. Your work as a performer, or as I will say, traditional piano performer, how you choose the pieces that you're going to play, and then there comes into play like a whole discourse on feminism. But also your first, I would say, your first experimentations with the nylon connections. I mean, we talked about it also, but I mean, your new article also departs from this intimate perspective of yours in the register of writing, right? Like, being responsible for all these connections that you are making.
Yes, actually, I found, like, I invented a method of writing for this article, which was like, if I am writing about feeding myself from people and voices, I need to write using voices of other people. So I choose 3 people. I've chosen, three friends and researchers and artists that were connected with voice and things that I considered relevant. And then we had conversations by WhatsApp audios. And then I made transcriptions of all the audios. And then I use this to write. So each voice, not just person, but each voice is a color. So you have like my voice as well, my voice to people. So I had 3 different voices. I am one with each people I talk with is one color. The 3 people, and there is a diary voice as well in this article, like the written voice. And then I make, I sew everythh together, with in black, like, but mostly the text is all colored, and with what they said, and then what I eat from what they said, and what I digested and put together and cut and broke, like,
But this is exposed in the publication version. The colors are still there, or did you just normalize everything to black?
No, everything is colored. Everything. Because otherwise it wouldn't work. No, I mean, it's in the ABNT, in the rules, but it's colored. I asked it if I could use colors, and they said yes, you can use colors.
Yeah.
So this is everything.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And the texts are also other colors, like the books or other articles from other people is one color as well.
Yeah. I have to say I'm sorry again for bringing another Japanese reference into the conversation, because I'm always doing that. So sorry again. But this reminds me of one of Mamoru Oshii's films. He is a cinematographer, which I really enjoy. He's connected to the Japanese animation cinema industry, maybe. But he adopts a sort of a philosopher-artist stance. And one of his movies, one of his most famous ones, is from the Ghost in the Shell series. Ghost in the Shell is like a really, really famous, groundbreaking Japanese animation movie. There is a sequel to that, which I really, really enjoy, which is called Innocence. It's Ghost in the Shell 2. And in this movie, there is a recurrent topic. I mean, maybe the main concept is the concept of speaking through a body. And this is represented like in many, many different ways in this movie, like through quotations. It's almost like nouvelle vague recreation as anime. So it's full of quotations. It's almost like a movie. How do they say that? It's like you're writing like a book. It's actually a movie essay or a film essay, like full of quotations and full of metaphors of bodies, dolls. Hans Bellmer's work is there. There is like this very cool quotation from Norse theater, very famous theater traditional current in Japan, from teaching manuals in Norse, which say things like you are, and this actually connects to your work in other ways as well, because there is the metaphor of the we call it in Portuguese marionete. I don't know how to say that in English, actually.
It's like puppets.
Yeah, it's a puppet. Exactly.
Marionette.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
And then there is this teaching manual section of a section of this manual that says you are pulling the strings of the puppet. So you're the actor, right? You're pulling the strings of the puppet. If you cut the strings, then the puppet falls. It's like this distancing from your own body, but it's like you are seeing yourself from a distance as well. There are all these references of in and out, the difference of the mind and the body, if this really exists, the difference of the inanimate doll and the real person. This is questioned in the movie all the time. I mean, sorry for bringing another Japanese reference, but I think this is really adequate. And if you want to, I mean, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, one thing I thought, again, I keep coming back to some of the things that compelled me about the kind of solo experimentation connected to things and the feeding through voices or through you is just the intimacy of it. I mean, it's really a very intense thing, and I've been in some performances where it's the level of intimacy that absolutely defines the experience. You know, I had a friend who's unfortunately not doing much performances anymore. His name's Adam Overton, and he had these really beautiful pieces that just laid bare, you know, people and in performance for everybody to see. And I kind of got that vibe from the pictures. I actually do have a question about, you know, you have all these tentacles of practices and writing and activism and those things. So I'm kind of curious, you know, how how you view these things as part of your artistic ethos and intellectual ethos and how they connect. It's a really general, broad question, but for some reason we all end up writing, but I have trouble figuring out why, but maybe you have a good answer.
I don't think I have a good answer. Maybe, I don't know. I do diaries for life always, and when I am creating, I am also writing for myself. Like I have different diaries for different purposes, and they are all organized. Like not academically. I mean, I use writing as a way of experimenting and also like for myself. But then, yeah, I don't know. I think it's good when you write about things. Like now that I was almost 3 years without writing anything, and I had this article, I understood a lot of stuff that I didn't before. So I think that things are connected, no? Like we end up, because it's not the same type of knowledge. I mean, the body has one knowledge, and the writing is another one, the playing is another one, I don't know, eating is another one. And I think they complement themselves. I didn't answer, but I said something.
I think it's a really good answer, actually. You're right. They're different forms of understanding and different forms of knowledge. Pretty good answer to me.
And it's also interesting to recognize all these different threads, but in you, right? You are able to write something in a certain register, then you go to produce an artistic work, and you are activating other forms of thinking, which are not necessarily directly connected to the way you think when you write. This is always something that surprises me as well. Maybe this is a personal question, but anyway, it surprises me as well. How many people can you be? How many different people can you be, right?
Well, if I eat all the voices I want, I can be infinite and schizophrenic as well.
Is this a part of your project? I mean, expanding also your identity? Because this is
I don't know.
For me, actually.
I think it's related, because if I end up with this idea when I am out of Brazil, thinking a lot about what is to be Brazilian and what is the colonization, and thinking that I want to digest and devour, like things in my body, I think it's related to maybe search who I am. But it's not, I mean, for me, the focus is not just like the identity. It's not that I want to know who I am. It's not that. It's more like I want to know who I am in relation, because I change who I am depending on who I am with. Because your place of speech changes, the dialogue is different. I don't know. Well, I'm thinking, because I don't. It's a really good question, actually.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's really personal to me as well. You know that I've been in Kyoto to do that
the language.
That sort of like really, really intense performance for 6 weeks, and avoiding a secure tool to communication made me like speak through others' voices, as well as I had to learn how to achieve that in order to have a comfortable and meaningful day-to-day relationship with other people, and more basic stuff as well. But at the end of the day, there remained this silence, I would say, that and my fantasy is that in this silence there I was. I mean, I was trying to expand my identity. I was trying to, the fantasy is that I was trying to expand it in order to lose it, but I always kept returning to that place in which, okay, here I am. I mean, just thinking out loud, because I think there are some connections between those.
Yeah,
those
totally. Well, maybe this is because this is why I don't sing with other people, and I just listen. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I can. I'm thinking now. I don't think I can explain.
Yeah, it's a listening project, right? You're listening with your whole body as well.
Yeah. That's it.
It's kind of an impossible listening project too, because there's no way to I mean, I think it's very admirable that you're trying to share this experience that you have quite literally inside your own head, but there's always that transduction, through, for example, the binaural speaker. What we hear is never quite what you hear, but it's almost touching that you're really trying to get us there. And then you kind of take the next step with just say, fuck it, sing into my mouth.
Yeah, but it's like language, no? I mean, I'm thinking something, you are not listening what I am thinking, and I can't even even if I was speaking my mother tongue, I mean, even if I was communicating in another way, we always have this perception barrier or not. I don't know if it is a barrier
or noise in the system. I mean, this is, again, I keep as Paolo talking about the Japanese, I keep talking about Claude Shannon and information theory. This is it doesn't matter what form of communication you have, there's always this inherent noise in the system. And what's amazing about what you were doing there is you really show that limit. You kind of visualize it, or it's part of the process of the piece. That's like, okay, I'm hearing what's inside. I'm supposed to be as close as possible to hearing what's inside her head, with the understanding that I'm not quite there.
Yes. And even each head has a different size. So like the binaural effect works better in a head with a similar size than mine head. I mean,
I wonder what would happen if you actually had someone put their ear up to your face, their ear up to your face.
You hear the bone conduction. I don't. The face. Yeah, I mean, I know if you put in bones, for example, if you put in someone else's shoulder, and then you.
Yeah. It's like when you put your head on someone's stomach or something, you hear their.
Yeah, you can do with yourself, no? If you put your head here and you.
Right.
It's the same, but then you can do with someone else.
Cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there are other connections as well. In Cidade Arquipélago, an album I released a while ago, I transcribed my own tinnitus, right?
You what?
Tinnitus. It's the ringing of your ears. I transcribed it and turned it into a synthetic sound. And it's all a binaural disc. You can hear my tinnitus in the headphone if you want to at one track. And I wondered from a point on, what if I wanted to transcribe other people's tinnitus? How would it be? And I imagined this long process of conversation. How does it sound? And then trying to synthesize things so that people could hear them. It's a bit higher than that. It's a bit lower than that. Like it would be a collaborative project. But then your inside out binaural kit is like it would not be a way to approach it, but it's almost like it's a connected idea.
Yeah, you can try with bone. I never tried, but this bone conductors, microphones or amplifiers, no, it's another possibility to explore. I didn't have the chance, but yeah.
Those exist? Are they medical? Are they for medicine, or are they like for medical purposes, or are they actually meant to?
I don't know much, but I know that there are some headphones that are not headphones, like that you hear, you put something, you plug like here in the bone, and then you listen to the music, and you can even have your ear free to listen to other things. So maybe if you turn it to the opposite direction, then it is a microphone. Or people have, I think people done similar things. People have done, there must be something like that. But I know in Brazil it's difficult to get it. In the US, you find these bone conductors. Something you need to soldar. Yeah.
Solder. Yeah. Cool.
I don't know how they sound.
Yeah. It also reminded me of, and this is another Japanese reference, the sound artist, field recordist, which he uses. I can't recall his name right now.
Is the one you sent me? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he uses he used to his field recording practice is. Luca, can you remember his name? Because you sent me also. We had conversation.
Is it Toshiya Tsunoda?
Toshiya Tsunoda. Hi.
Okay.
So he
What's the name again? I missed it.
Toshiya Tsunoda. I'll just.
Yeah, asking me to pronounce the Japanese name is quite a good idea, Paulo.
Yeah, I mean, no, because I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. This is a problem of mine. So he usually uses microphones to he inserts himself in a field recording practice, but also in recording listening. And one of the things that he does is just what Mari described. He puts contact microphones in his connects them to his bones, for instance, so that you can hear air microphones recording at the same time of his, I don't know, of his blood circulation here and how it reacts to what he's listening to. This is one of the works he's done. Right, Mari? I sent you exactly this
yeah,
one,
you
right?
sent me. Yeah, but it was like a blog spot, a MySpace or something like that, and I couldn't find much more info about him.
Yeah.
Sounds all similar to the reference I made earlier with Adam Overton. He's got these wonderful pieces where people are taking each other's pulses, actually, and they're the transducers, and then they do something. Yeah, there's kind of a beautiful body of bio work or biofeedback work, but that also plays on the lines of where the transduction is, but either by people or by electronics.
Yeah, yesterday I found, I don't know the name. I think it's a Japanese person as well. I don't know the name, but I found the work that it was like a dentist chair that you have a lot of different bone conductors that you place here, and also like in these bones, and you have nothing in the ears, but just in your skull. And then you listen to a concert, like pieces that vibrates different parts of your skull. But then you just listen to something that is composed for that.
Oh, nice.
Which I found crazy. Yeah, interesting.
You mentioned that like this is kind of where you're at now with Alimento de Voces, and what's on the horizon for you? Like what's next? Even though you're in this now, what's your kind of next step now, given the situation? And
well, now I am trying to do some. Yeah, well, there is this problem about I would have to find people to be in quarantine to experiment, which I find is a very good idea. Yeah. But for now, like at home here, I started to do some experiments with my own voice. Like it's not like Lucien is sitting in a room like inside the school. Not exactly this, but like this retro. I don't know. I want to research more about feedback, or how can I play again and again my own voice inside my own head. See if I find some frequencies like this. I don't know, this Ouroboros thing that you eat yourself. No, like this. Now that I am isolated, I think this is like what I am trying to. I'm really studying, practicing deep listening now, which I think brings new ideas as well, and other ways of listening and imagination, like, but yeah, then I would like to explore and to sing with other people together, like having other people singing if I can, if I manage. Because this performance was like, okay, let's do it. You had this opportunity, don't think, do it. And then I did, like I would like to really explore it.
Just for reference, I'll plug in the chat box also the Luke Fowler Toshia Tsunoda a reference to their movie together, A Grammar for Listening, which is the work we were talking about just now. So I think, are you listening to me? Sorry, that everyone is with the mics closed. Yeah. I think we this is I don't know. Does anyone have anything else to add, or any other questions, or any other comments, or should we wrap it up?
I can stop the recording if we have come to a stopping point.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank then Mari,
Yes,
to Mariana. Really, thank you. It was like a fantastic session. I think your work is like really fantastic, really strong. And I mean, thank you again for accepting our invitation and sharing.
Thank you for listening and for making these questions. And yeah, I will be thinking about a lot. Yeah, really, thank you for the opportunity.
I will stop the recording, and I also want to say thank you. That was really wonderful. So then we can talk casually after this. But again, thank you.